We were up there for a week, and it took pretty much 7 18-hour days to pull 2 series and their Stargates apart.
So right here you can see the gear that turned the inner track, which was exposed for probably the first time in over a decade. It made me so sick to see that thing pulled apart. But the team went out of their way. They were incredibly careful and they were meticulous in their planning of the dismantling of the gate. And I knew that we were going to get it to someone who would absolutely love it.
And what followed next was 18 months of Stargate Heaven. It was one of the best times of my life.
Just for your blog, here you go. Now you're just in it. I want you to do an introduction.
Hi, I'm David Reed for Propworx.com, and we are here with the Supreme Commander of the Asgard fleet, Mr. Thor. He's been augmented with this little doodad here and this badge here. These two. Door. Yeah, and now we've got him, and we're going to be making him available to one very special fan this year in 2010. He's really greasy.
It's been on the air for more than a decade, and now you can own part of the sci-fi world of Stargate. Hundreds of props and costumes from the TV show are about to go on the auction block right here in Seattle.
This is an anti-replicator gun from Atlantis. This is a power crystal here. The stock closes.
Maybe your house wouldn't be complete without a spaceship control console, complete with light-up buttons. Many of them work for your next outer space adventure. This weekend, MGM will auction off over 800 items.
The care that was put into developing each of these things, it's not like other shows.
David Reed is the auction company's Stargate expert and huge fan. And to most fans, this isn't just memorabilia.
But for sci-fi fans, a lot of us, we live it, and to be able to own a piece of that world is really, really special.
Up at 13,000 and 14,000 third and final time. Sold online for $15,000.
Behind the chevrons. This auction includes 2 metal stands. One stand rests the Stargate directly on the ground, and the other places the gate 20 inches from the ground. The Stargate itself measures 22 feet in diameter. Stone pedestal and dial home device are not included with this. All right?
What's the diameter?
The diameter is 22 feet.
In diameter.
All right. Opening bid, folks. We have an opening bid of $70,000 on this item already. $70,000. From here, we're going to go to $80,000 now. I bid $70,000, now $80,000. I bid $70,000, now $80,000. I bid $70 better than $80, now $80, now $80,000. I bid $70,000, now $80,000. It's just a small little 10,000 increment, folks. $70,000, now $80. I bid $70,000, now $80,000. $70,000, now $80. I bid $70,000, now $80. Will it help you out if I do $75 one time? I bid $70,000, now $75. $70,000 bid, now $75. I bid $70 better than $5, now $5, now $75 better than $75,000. Looking for $75,000, folks. It's a deal on it at $75, right? Looking for $75. I bid $70, now $75,000 all through. We're looking for $75,000. Anyone else? $75,000 going once. Yes, it is. Well put. $75,000 going twice. Just making sure. $75,000 third and final time. Got me real excited for a minute. He's got nothing. Sold for $70,000. Congratulations to our winner.
Welcome, everyone, to Dial the Gate, the Stargate Oral History Project. My name is David Reed. This is episode 454, Stargate Live Auction. Now, I was trying to decide how I was wanting to frame the title of this one, and it was like, it is a Stargate Live Auction. Of a live auction of the Stargate itself. And joining me to walk down memory lane a little bit, the last time this particular item was sold, I have my friends Lee Webb, who was our photographer at Propworx, and Curtis Short, who was my manager at Propworx as well. Guys, it is so wonderful to have you back on the show. Lee, you've recorded with me, but we've not published it live yet. So welcome to Dial the Gate, sir.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm very excited.
Thrilled to have you. This guy is a masterful photographer. Right? All right. So I have so what is it that's happening? Oh, and Curtis, how you doing?
Hey, I'm fantastic, everybody. Fantastic. Great to be here. Pleasure. Yep.
It's good to have you back on the live show. So what's happening here is that the travel Stargate that was built for Stargate SG-1 and went all the way from Children of the Gods through to Seizure in Stargate Universe was sold by us in September of 2010, and it is being relisted now on the Heritage Auctions website. So we are following this in real time. The link below to this, is in the description below if you want to go and check it out. It is currently at $52,500, and the auction itself has just went underway about 9 minutes ago. The Stargate auction is 89490, and they are currently on 89451. I spoke to someone at Heritage Auctions, and they say they run through about 39 auctions per hour. So we've got probably 50 minutes before it goes live. There's that particular listing. So we've got plenty of time to catch up with each other and to talk a little bit about our time at Propworx and all of the stuff that you'll be probably hearing again on the documentary that I've been working on for like 3 or 4 years now, of putting all of our voices together. So I'm thrilled to have you guys for this. What's noteworthy in your worlds right now? You guys staying busy? Everything good? Lee, are you still photographing, or have you moved on from that?
Nope, doing mostly real estate video work now and stuff. I've been, being that I was a stay-at-home dad for about 11 years, recently divorced, so I'm having to hustle and try to get my feet back on the ground. I'm getting them underneath me, and things are starting to work out okay. I'm here in southern Utah. That's not the commercial photography capital of the world, but I am doing my very best. I think I'm doing with my market about as much as someone could.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Curtis, anything to update us on with you?
Just hanging out in Georgia. We're in Johns Creek, and we're kind of in a holding pattern right now, but actually things are going fantastic. I have no complaints whatsoever. Things are good. My kids are great. They're all in Africa right now.
Okay.
Till the end of the month, they go for 2 months, for the summer every year. And,
how old is Curtis Jr. now?
He's 16. Turned 16.
Oh my gosh.
He's 16, and the twins are 13. And they're all as tall as me. They're all 6 foot tall.
Wow.
Yeah. So everybody's doing fantastic. No complaints. Now, Lee, you said Southern Utah. I used to live in St. George, Laverkin area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in Cedar. I'm just north of there.
Okay, yeah, seriously. So when I lived there, I started up the Cedar City Clip and Save newspaper. And so it covered Cedar City all the way down to St. George. I went to every business in between and started a Clip and Save newspaper. Back in the day, it was coupons, Clip and Save. Yeah.
Oh, coupons. Okay.
Yeah, it was like a monthly newspaper, advertisement, coupons, Clip and Save, and as a mailer I did to everybody. And I did that in Southern Utah. That was a long time ago, 25 years ago, probably.
Were you familiar with Stargate before joining Propworx?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course.
Okay. What's your favorite episode? You don't need to
Well,
list the name, just describe it.
no, I'll tell you the truth. Well, to tell you the truth, the movie, I remember watching the movie. Do you remember watching the movie? Not the show, but the movie the first time?
I saw the movie second, the show first, but I remember very well.
So when I saw the movie, it was I was 18, I think, 18 years old.
Oh, okay.
And it was awesome. And then when the show came out, just seeing it in a show and the fact that we could see it every day, like I was so excited to watch every single episode because it just opened up a whole new world. Like you can just go into another world.
Mm-hmm.
And so like every time the gate opened up and it has that whoosh, you're like, whoo. And I'm just sucked into it every time.
Oh my God, it looks as who's here. Damian, can you rotate?
I can rotate. Yes, I can. Let me just do the little buttons and the doohickeys.
Didn't mean to cut you off, Curtis. How much time do you have, buddy?
You're good.
You got me for about 20 minutes.
Oh, okay, sweet. Can you unlock the rotation on your phone?
I did.
Oh.
I did. It should be working now.
There it is.
Says. Ooh,
awesome.
Technology.
Oh my gosh. It is so good to have you here, man. How are you doing?
Good. Sorry I'm late. Couldn't avoid it though. I definitely wanted to be here. And Curtis, it's good to see your face, brother.
Man, it's great to see you, bro. Really good to see you.
Looking good. Yeah. We have to do an in-person get-together sometime. We got to do a little reunion.
This would be a good idea. Florida and Georgia are not that far apart.
Wait,
no, they're not.
And Dean is here. Dean is around in the South, right?
Yeah. He's in
South Carolina or something.
I think so. Yeah, exactly. So for sure. Nice. And then we've got Jared out. Is still
he's a lone wolf
west,
still out west.
He is. Yeah, that's it.
And nobody cares about Jared though. It's okay.
Damian.
Yeah, buddy.
What were you doing at Propworx? What was your responsibility there?
I'm showing off my my BDUs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was my responsibility at Propworx? You know what? I think I did everything that could be possible. Everything from business development to setting up auctions, to writing descriptions, to setting up and running with the entire team all the live auctions, the weekly auctions, helping with photography, setting up the props, costumes, writing, speaking to the customers. Literally, I don't think there wasn't anybody who did one thing at Propworx.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Everybody did a little bit of everything. I mean, the only person who may have done, other than managing, Curtis may have done more than all of us together.
Yeah, he had definitely done all of it.
I don't know about that.
No, but for sure. I mean, Curtis is the one who taught us how to pretty much do everything there. And he was the backbone. He was the one that we would go to and complain there was a problem.
I'm having an issue with this thing.
Try to keep it together. That was the goal.
Yeah, that was Curtis's thing. But yeah, I did a little bit of everything. Everything from, I walked in with Battlestar Galactica. We did Iron Man, Hulk. We did a little bit of Captain America, Star Trek,
Kevin Smith,
and then. Oh yeah, I did all of Kevin Smith. Yeah,
Kevin Smith was great. It was great.
That was so cool.
Yep. And then into Stargate, and then we did 14 seasons of Stargate. Plus movies.
We did 14 seasons. Yeah, we had the license for SG1 and Atlantis. We didn't get to Universe, unfortunately. Someone else grabbed that one. But
we walked the sets.
We did watch those sets, and those Universe sets were awesome. And I remember being really bummed out that we didn't get it. Yeah, that was fun.
Well, they had really gotten expert at their craft in terms of designing things for those last few years, and those Universe pieces are they're just absolutely gorgeous. They're just right out of Jules Verne. But yeah, and Lee, you were a Stargate fan before Propworx as well, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Wait, Lee's here and nobody told me.
I'm right here, Damian, my brother. How are you? It's been an
Good,
awful
good.
long time.
God, they were holding you off on me, man. Yeah, Lee was.
You can't see me over here, no?
No, I can now. I'm on my phone, so I didn't see everybody in the chat. But guys, Lee was instrumental in the photography for Propworx. Like I said, I helped a little bit. Lee was photography. He set the standard for everything that we did. I learned something new every day I walked in there. He
There's
would
always
bring
something
in.
to learn.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like the tools that he brought in, the camera stands, you'll have to tell me what the name of it is, but it was that one thing that went up about 8 feet, so we could get like drop down shots. What was that?
Yeah,
What
it
was
was a
that?
Super Stallion it was a Super Stallion monopod, and it weighed about 400 pounds. And
Yeah,
its arm went out 4 feet long, and we could
yeah.
shoot with good long lenses, so we didn't have to distort our imagery, and that would help us to clean up our background super fast because if we didn't shoot 150 items in a day, we weren't justified in being there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
right.
mean, it was like literally an assembly line of setting up especially when it was costume day. I think
Oh my God.
yeah, Thursdays.
Nightmares.
Good Lord Jesus, everybody wanted to not come in on Thursday costume day for Friday auctions, but that's all right. But everybody would be working on them. It was so much fun, I would say, and everybody was on deck. I was trying to think, I was trying to count how many people were on the photo staff at the biggest moment.
I think
when we were doing all the
6
live auction catalogs, there were
5 to 10.
Yeah. That's when we brought in Natasha, and when we brought in he worked with you after. Come on, I'm so sorry, Nick.
Nick
Savoy.
Nick, yep.
Yeah,
Nick Savoy.
exactly.
And then the girl with the hula hoop, and
the girl with the
Aaron.
hula hoop.
Aaron came and worked for a little bit. Remember that?
Well, Aaron was there before me, so she was, but she never, she didn't really work too much on the photography. I remember she dove into Battlestar, but she wasn't a Stargate person. She did some Iron Man. I think she was in on Iron Man a little bit, but but I was trying to count. I was trying to kind of count at one point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But counting you in there, David, and you had that sidekick of yours, David, that left a month early. I can't remember his name.
Yes,
he was a little surly.
Yes,
surly but fun.
Flat top hair. What was his name?
Yeah, you could land an airplane on that thing. I'm trying to remember his name, but regardless.
Chris.
Yes, Chris.
He knew
Chris Taylor,
He knew his stuff. He was a little surly, and he didn't seem like, for being in love with the show, he didn't seem all that enamored by being there. I was surrounded by all those props from Battlestar, which I love, and Star Trek, which I frickin' love, and then Stargate, which I frickin' love. And I was around all this stuff. And the fact that we had to work 11 and 12-hour days, I'd get there and open the place up and close the place down, and everybody would be leaving in the middle. And I was like, why do you guys want to leave? We got all the coolest stuff in the world. Yeah. It's all right here. As soon as as soon as most people leave, we're going to start screwing around. Come on.
That's it.
Baltar's bed is definitely a memory that I will never forget from Battlestar Galactica. Man. Yeah, but we thought you just hated your family, Lee. You never wanted to leave.
They came. They would come. You guys would leave and they'd come over. I know. The babies over there and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. No, I remember. I'm just being silly.
And we got, don't forget about Kelly. We had Kelly.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Kelly and Matt.
Kelly. Yep.
Kelly and Matt. I mean, man.
Yeah. Yeah. The Propworx team was huge.
Before Curtis was Santino. Santino was a surly boy as well. Was it Santino?
Santino Burrell.
Yeah, he was a little bit. He was a bit surly, but boy, he's a character.
Yeah,
Damian,
I love Santino.
We're not going to have you for too long. What were some of your favorite Stargate pieces that we sold?
Oh my gosh, the gate.
Right.
So my favorite thing was Curtis, myself, and a couple others. We went up to Vancouver and we walked down the corridor of the Egyptian temple, and it wasn't lit up, so it was creepy as hell. And we turned a corner, and you just step into this massive room, and the gate was right in front of you. And I'll never forget. And Curtis came in. He was like, "Holy shit!" Right over my shoulder. I was like, "Yeah, right." So
Was
we
it
got
the
to walk
Atlantis
up.
Gate or the SG-1
It
gate?
was the Atlantis.
On the
it was
Atlantis
the
stage,
Atlantis
yeah.
I'm pretty
Okay,
sure
yeah.
it was the landscape because it was so tall, it was
Yeah.
2 or 3 stories
Yeah.
tall, and it was
So
just
we got to walk in, and we got to see the open gears to how the thing spun.
Man.
It was just absolutely fabulous. The costumes, I will say, were probably my second favorite. After that, everything from the Jaffa to the Jaffa staff that actually you clicked the button and the head popped open and closed.
That's true.
Mhm.
But I won't even pretend to know as much about Stargate as you do. So what was amazing is every time I go over to the remote location, you would be as giddy as a schoolboy and run over and share some and you've got most of the stuff that we loved up behind you. So there was
almost all of it.
almost your collection is almost complete. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So look at this, and you'd flip a switch and turn on. And I remember when you guys found the replicators.
Oh, the box of replicators, yes.
And they just never
The box,
went
the tub,
away.
the tub.
It was a tub of
Like,
replicators. Yeah.
Yeah, we just we really need to be careful about these things here. Yeah, I remember I just found my images. You know what? Let me switch this over here so you guys can see. I just found my images from my trip up there with you guys in December, and one of my first tasks was just going through some of these stray props, and it just went on and on. So it was really an extraordinary week that the three of us, I don't think you were there, Lee, spent pulling stuff
I would have
apart.
loved to have gone. I wasn't invited, but I would have gone.
Yeah, David, I remember, David, when you were there, because that was the first time, you'd been with us, I think. And
for this.
You were like a kid in a candy store, I don't know, Christmas Day, you were like in heaven, in another world when you were there.
It was ridiculous.
And to see you so excited, because you are the true fan, David. And it was something. It was something to appreciate, seeing a fan like you, and just how enamored you were with everything. It was really cool to see.
And when we went into, I remember when we went into that one costume room that had 3 stories of racks for costumes, and we were pulling everything down to bring it out of there. It was nonstop. Something would get unzipped, and Dave would be like, "Oh my god! Oh, this is from episode 23 of season 4. This was worn by
jeez."
He was just knocking out where these things were coming from, and I was like, "All right, he wins. He knows everything. I'm just gonna sit in the corner."
I wasn't guaranteed, work past that particular time that we were all up there. We knew you weren't going. But I didn't know what the situation was at the company or anything beyond that, because I didn't know what kind of infrastructure Alec had. But I pitched myself to it because Alec had reached out to Darren at Gate World, and so I reached out to Alec and basically cajoled him, and I think I may have even paid for my own flight. He may have reimbursed. I think he reimbursed me afterwards. But it was just I have to be a part of this, So, and then I roomed with you, Damian, as of the second night. I think you were a day late. You were working on something else back in LA.
Yep. Oh man, it was. I'll have to say, we didn't know it at the time, but it was probably one of the coolest moments of our professional lives going into these, to work on these. It was I look back at those days, as hard as they were, as ridiculous. I mean, I would be at the studio, the office, and some nights running auctions until 2:00 in the morning. And then we'd be back there bright and early. I don't know how many times half of you slept there because we had such early mornings, but I mean, we worked so hard.
That's right.
But we did it because we loved the shows. We loved the movies. We had a passion, and it
That's right.
showed with everything that we did, and the the communication with the fans. Like there was problems with shipping, but like our shipping was top notch, and like I think the only thing that people ever had a problem with was things like when are you going to ship it, because I need it now. Like
This is
that level
true.
of expectations of like, okay, you have my money, I want it tomorrow, and we're like, we're still in Vancouver, man, or we're
That's
still
it.
up in, or we're still up at the museum with the science museum up in what was it, Oregon or Washington?
In Seattle, we're in
Washington,
Seattle.
in
Yeah,
Seattle.
Seattle,
Yeah.
Washington. Yeah, people are like, I want it now. Get a box up Thor and send Thor to me tomorrow. And we're like, well, we got to take him home. We got to pack his stuff up at the warehouse. So
Well, you were really good, Curtis, about actually getting some of those, especially a lot of the smaller stuff, any of the bigger stuff that we could, that was at the museum in Seattle, transferred over to people there, weren't you?
Well, yeah, if I could avoid, because listen, we picked that stuff in Vancouver, took it down to LA, packed it up again, took it up to Seattle. So if I don't have to take it back to LA and then ship it, man, that's so much better for us and everybody. So I did everything I could to get it out the door from Seattle, the big stuff if I could. It's way easier. But that was the shipping part and managing that whole aspect of getting the stuff to the fans. That was an ordeal, but it was fun. It was a task.
Speaking of shipping, so I drove one of the trucks back across the border, the Canadian border, back to
One of the semis?
States.
You drove an 18-wheeler?
No. We had a huge U-Haul that we put a bunch of stuff in. So we drove it back down, and I got pulled over by Border Patrol because they wanted to search the truck because they looked at the manifest and they saw like pistols and rifles and then like all these other things, and they're like, you got to go over. So I was in holding for about 3 hours. And they're like, you need to open this up when they finally got to me. And I'm like, guys, it's all movie props. Nothing's real. And they're like, we see bullets on this. We're like, oh,
so the manifest is an Excel that's sent in advance of the truck. And I had the paper copy of it too. Yeah. So as soon as I roll up the gate, the border guys like look at each other, their eyes opened up and they're like, can we peek? Can we see something? So I pulled a bunch of boxes out and they're like, you can go, but can we keep looking at these for a little while? So we stayed for like an extra hour and I was showing a bunch of really cool stuff. And they were like, when's the auction? So like they signed up to be a part of it too. So like it was amazing to find. It was amazing to find. I mean, there's more to that story, but like it was amazing to find fans everywhere we went. Everywhere.
And I'll even expand on that. When we went to San Diego Comic-Con, we were invited to the Stargate Universe cast and crew party up on that rooftop, and we got to meet all the cast members, and they had like this giant Stargate made out of chocolate. I remember that. That was amazing. And what I loved was how all the actors, they loved the series. They were so excited to be a part of it. David Blue, I got to work with him afterwards, and he was telling me, he's like, it was one of the most favorite things that he got to do.
He's a good guy.
So yeah, it was amazing to be around people who loved what they were doing, and all the prop makers as well back up in Vancouver. They were so proud and they were so protective of everything that they made. Like they didn't want to let a lot of the stuff go because they were the caretakers and creators of these beautiful pieces. And we got to just hold them and do things that so many fans will never be able to do. So like I said, this is something that, I mean, people would give, they would sell their grandmother to be a part of. It was just, and I see you guys like reminiscing in your heads right now over all these moments that we had. And I love that.
I got super glue on my desk, but yeah, go ahead.
We're sharing, we have that shared experience. And for those people who did get to go to the live auctions, and I remember you were at a restaurant with everybody doing live bidding as well, that I didn't get a chance to go to.
Live auction too. Yeah. You guys were back at the office, but that one was a special event. Damian, you've worked in Hollywood. How often do fans get an opportunity to buy something from a show? Isn't it all mostly destroyed by and large, thrown in the dumpster when it's over? Wasn't this a rare opportunity?
Yeah, it was. Afterwards, Universal hired me to do they hired me to do oh my God, one of the late night shows. Was it the Jimmy Kimmel show? I don't remember, but I got to do a late night show and I got to do House afterwards. And that was one of the last the last auctions that I knew about until Prop Store took over. But no one really did or does take apart series anymore and sell them to fans. And I thought that was such a waste because with Battlestar Galactica, I think we brought in like $4 or $6 million. Which we got a chunk of. I think it was like 30% of, which I mean still wasn't enough for how much work that we did. And then with Stargate, I don't remember the numbers on that. I wasn't privy to that information, but I mean the amount of money that rolled back into the studio was staggering. And
but
it was
still only like 2% in some cases of the cost of some of these pieces that were made.
Yeah, but
the
still,
point is that the fans got a chance to have something that was going to go in the garbage, you know, and something recovering something is not nothing.
No.
I want to share my thoughts on that whole
Please.
thing too. What's I think is extraordinary is, and me being a TOS fan and having the only real props from TOS that exist were those that were stolen. The rest were damaged or thrown away. And we got to authenticate a bunch of them. And at the end, you know, they could never say whether they were real or not. But what I loved about Battlestar and the fans of Battlestar is that everything went out with the COA, and we know where every single prop is. And none of those things
at least where
got
it was
lost.
last.
Where it was last. And they're in the hands of fans, and they're able to be brought back together. I even remember something about Stargate. I think that a Stargate was sold and then loaned back to Stargate for one of the movies. So
one of
it's like
the dial home device was
back in.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So that couldn't have happened otherwise. And I mean, how do you even put a dollar amount, you know, if you were doing kind of a flashback on TOS and you could use the original captain's chair, I mean, how could you even put a real dollar amount on that? And maybe in 20 more years or 30 more years, when they come back with the flashback of Stargate, and we can gather up dozens, Zapnikitas, all the different things that were from those shows, and actually use the ones that were in there or have them available to make new molds on or something like that. It really, they're in the best storage possible. It's not like they're in boxes like a Millennium Falcon sitting in the back of George Lucas's warehouse in boxes. You know, these people have them. Somebody has the bridge of Battlestar Galactica. Someone has that. Someone has a Viper in their front yard that was part of Lord of the Rings. You know, somebody has that stuff. You know, those things are in hands, and people who love them, and people. I mean, and they spent quite a bit of money. They're not going to just put them in the bathroom and have them fall apart. They're not. They're great, and there's history on them, and they're not lost. And I think that is like the best thing. I remember one of the last days I was at Propworx, and I was like, I kind of heard through the, you know, there was some argument on who owned the images, how are they going to be used? And I'm like, yeah, they're mine, and I'm going to upload them for use to the internet. And I uploaded them, and I just gave them to the universe. And I'm like, yeah, because that's who they belong to. They belong to the universe.
The Stargate universe.
That's right.
They belong to the, you know, to the intellect that surrounds the world. You know, that's where they belong. And I didn't want it to get lost in a studio, never to be seen again. You know, that was not what I thought was a good idea. So, you know, with Battlestar got uploaded, everything got uploaded to anywhere I could figure out to upload it to. And
it's one of the things that I'm working on
them too.
That's the thing. And thanks to you, I've got a clean set. It's one of the things that I guess I can reveal here that I got a set from you. And when I've been working on this documentary for years and years now, whenever we finally do publish it, we will have, I will provide access to a lot of the photography from the entire project. Maybe not necessarily full resolution, but fans will finally get an opportunity to go through the beautiful photography that you made, Lee, and just dive into the majesty of some of these pieces in a resolution that you've not had really a chance to view before. So the work was just so spectacular, and I can't thank you enough.
And not to mention the blueprints that we had access to.
Oh, the big cases of blue. I forgot that I haven't even thought about those ever. Actually, in 16 years, I haven't thought about those.
Yeah. We have like five 4x6 rolling crates. Massive. And those are amazing. Those were amazing.
And they just got sent out for scans. They were just sent out. We didn't even photograph those things.
No, there was no need to. A couple we did that I wanted to list like sooner. The scanning process, that was a whole all other thing. But just so cool.
But I know Lee photographed a lot of like the concept art. That's one of the reasons why we had that huge overhead photography crane. So we got, in person, got to hold these beautiful things. And people who bought these blueprints, and we have the high res, like we could rebuild the sets from what we have on those hard drives.
Some of it, sure.
Just absolutely amazing. And just like the repository. No, it's not a suppository, but it's like we have this repository of all of this data that I know someday the studio is going to finally pick up the franchise again, and they're probably going to come to us, David.
You think so?
They better.
I don't expect that they're. I think what you're going to see next is Blank Slate, my friend. But it's a romantic idea, because they just canceled the show that they were developing from the original people, and that was a month and 2 weeks ago. So,
but executives come and go. People who have a
that is
passion
certainly
for
true.
Different sci-fis. It could be next year to 5 years down the road. We're going to see something. The fandom is, right here alone with with what you've created with the gate. It's going to happen. And if it doesn't, they're foolish. They're absolutely foolish.
Guys,
it's just
we need a
away.
question answered. We need a question answered too. We need to know whether Eli killed himself to save everybody, or did he get one of the life support systems working? And I am fucking bummed if I don't find out about that one of these days. He had two choices. He either going to kill him. He had to kill himself to save everybody, or he had to get a system working. And there was no system going to get working. And then he put in his headphones and he played Mumford and Sons.
Yep.
And that was a absolutely like a chilly moment. I don't know if you guys got the same chills, but you could see his wheels turning. Do I gas myself? Do I shoot myself? Do I shoot myself
we
out
are live.
Airlock?
We are live right now on YouTube, and there are AI
well, David Blue, if you know the answer, we need to know it.
Yeah.
So his answer is that he repaired the pod. That's David's answer, because I've asked that.
David Blue. Yeah, I was going to say when you're done, David Blue did say that as far as he's concerned,
he would have. Yeah.
He fixed it and he made it. So that's what they're hoping for if they're able to figure out another season and just go from there. But
folks, we are live with the team from Propworx who did the last Stargate auctions. The Stargate itself is going to be coming up fairly soon here on the Heritage Auctions website. We're currently at 89468, and it's going to be 490, so pretty soon here. If you have any questions for us about specific items that we sold or anything else, you can go ahead and ask us. I do have one. Aaron Stark Linux. Curtis, do you know what happened to Ronon's gun after production? Did Jason keep it?
No.
Okay.
We got it, didn't we?
We got it. Got it.
It must have been a private sale.
I had it. I held it. It's the most favorite prop of all time for me. Because it was
It was a beautiful
Beautiful.
piece.
You can tell. I'm
Yeah.
so excited about it. Just
We got
talking about it,
we got the some of the back. There was only one metal hero, and we didn't.
There's only one hero.
We didn't publicly list it. I think that
And-
was a private sale.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, we did have it.
yeah, very good.
How many private
right.
sales were there?
There were the opening closing staff weapon that was created near the end of the series. That was a private sale from someone who later became later became a friend. I think that there were a couple more. I'm not entirely sure. What I found out after, though, was that staff weapon never appeared on screen. If my contact from from the props department is correct, it was designed as a prototype near the end of near the end of the franchise and never used on screen. And we had no way of knowing that because they were identical.
Yeah,
but it works. It opens and closes.
Yeah. Oh my God, there wasn't a person. There wasn't a person in the building who didn't grab that thing and get to fire that up.
Oh man, I still hear the servos. Right. Yeah. No, there was some amazing stuff. So, Lee, what was some of your favorite pieces?
Oh gosh. Let's see. From Stargate, I loved all of the little nuances of the uniforms and the gear and how they would sand the pieces down and things like that. Now the big ensembles and things like that, they were extraordinary. But I just loved how they spent the time on every little tiny piece that would go on from flak jackets and vests and pictures in the background and things that were inside wallets. Those are the things I really, really appreciate that were in the backstories. Those are the things I appreciated too about the Battlestar Galactica sets is we opened up a door, there was stuff inside of it. As opposed to, let's say, Iron Man, that if you moved 3 degrees to one side, everything was hollow behind it. You know, they only built it for the angle of the shot, and that was it. You know, if they wanted to mess it up, they couldn't. But Battlestar had everything in there, even writing in the books that had the cut off corners. So that stuff was, cut off corners, but there was writing in them. These weren't just plain things. They used real books and then recovered them. So I would say in Stargate, those kind of things. Obviously, everybody loves Nikitas. They're super fun. They're super fun to play with. All of those things. And then you were asking earlier, like, when did you love Stargate show the most, or what episode? And I think it was for me when Tail wasn't turned yet, and when they would have to shoot the Jaffa like 3,000 times to put one down. By the end of the show, you know, it was like one shot wonders. But at the beginning of the show, it was 7 guys shooting at one guy for a half an hour before he dropped. And you know, that was
the Coal Warriors for sure. Yes, absolutely. The Jaffa. There's just so much history here. We photographed so much stuff. It's kind of mind blowing to me that how the 18 months just went. They were like a blur as far as I was concerned. And I mean, like Damian, any other memories that you want to share with us before you have to get underway? I'm trying to be cognizant of your time.
No, it's I'm fine. You've got me. I'm set.
Okay.
Now that I know Lee's here, I can stay for another 10. How long have you got? You got me for another 15.
All right.
So other favorite moments. Man, it was the costumes. It was the artwork. I mean, there's too much to say other than what I said, being the Stargate. And I remember I was there when they started cutting the Stargate into slices.
Oh no, that's right.
Curtis was there too. And I mean, the size of the circular saw that they were using, I'm pretty sure they used the Jaws of Life.
Yeah, it was really hard to watch, but the way when they capped them. And it ended up being really great how they did it. That way we could get a great piece, a great headboard for someone's bed.
Yeah, I remember it went into somebody's bedroom. And if anybody's watching who has picked up things, we've asked them, like, send us the pictures of where you're displaying your pieces.
Yeah, let's see it.
The patches, because I know we sold patches individually and as sets. Like, I want to see the display of how people are displaying their loved their beloved pieces. I mean, I've got a raw casting of one of the snake pistols that's sitting in a box waiting for me to finish. Like, I've had it for that long. It's mixed in with the replicator pieces that I have and the patches that I was able to acquire. So I mean, I personally want to see where people are displaying their stuff. And I think that would be
if there's anyone in the
great,
live chat who has anything, let us know.
Yeah, and I think that would be a great addition to your documentary as well, to show where these pieces ended up and how people still love them.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all.
Yeah, even from like
it's a great idea.
Even from the secondary market, because I've seen a lot of pieces that were sold out. Like, I even got a handle on one of the recastings of the Anubis masks. No, it was a snake. It was a snake. I got that.
Oh, the serpent's helmets. Yeah,
the serpent's helmet. Like, I ended up unfortunately having to sell that to someone, and they finished it and put it up on display. I'll see if I can get them to send some pictures. But like, just stunning pieces that I know it just makes me happy with all the hard work that production put into it and all the love and care that we did to display everything. Like what you're doing behind you, David. Like, these pieces are so loved.
Yeah.
It's an honor to know that it's still going on.
The frustrating thing is watching them deteriorate, especially like downstairs, my Wraith mask on my mannequin. Thor is the worst.
Thor is such a heartbreak. And
we're talking about one of the originals from season 3.
If we would have kept him in the cases, if we would have left him in the case and never opened it, he'd probably be fine.
Yeah, it was.
But that's the thing. Oxygen corrodes.
Yeah, it was tacky when we got to it. So we had to wear gloves just to get him, and even that, it was like the rubber gloves the vinyl gloves that we were wearing with them. So the deterioration, the foam rubber castings, like, they made them for a short term. Had they known that they were going to be beloved and cared for as much as they have been, I'm sure they would have used a different material. But it was fast, it was quick, and they had to turn these things out.
That's it. They had to make it work.
Yeah.
Curtis, did you pick up anything?
Well, I did. I ended up
Ronon's gun.
You got Ronon's gun.
Yeah, you got one of them. They're one of the models. Yeah.
But one thing I remember was I had when you walk east on Atlantis, they had a map of Atlantis, and it was a wall piece. There's a shadow box, and it lit up from behind. I had that in my garage.
That's right. At the top of the staircase. Yeah.
That's right.
You Are Here map.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
But a couple of things I was thinking about was as far as like all the costumes. The costumes, the quality for the wardrobe was amazing, and I thought Val, who was in charge of that whole thing,
Alverson, she's brilliant.
She was awesome, and it was really just so much fun. Being with her and her explaining and just talking about everybody and how the costumes work and fitting and just the whole process. And because she was just so much knowledge, and she's just an expert.
I keep in touch with her. She's wonderful, and she really loved her work. She loved that show. So.
Yeah, and she was a sweetheart. And so I always remember Val. She stands out to me. The only thing I remember is, as far as the fans go, worldwide. So we see fans online and stuff like that, but I got to ship all these things worldwide.
How many countries did we get up to? Like 30 or 40?
Yeah, maybe 42 or 43.
Yeah, it was high.
I'd have to look, but some of the things and places I shipped was quite incredible. I was shipping to Saudi Arabia, shipped to Kuwait, shipped to deep Russia, deep Russia, Africa. I mean, all over the world. And like Damian, you're talking about bringing the guns, the props across, the border.
Yeah.
Well, I had to figure out how to ship that stuff overseas. Missiles and drones and weapons and how to figure out how to ship that and get it into customs and get into countries was interesting. But the fan base worldwide is awesome. Australia, and what about all our good friends in France?
Yeah.
Oh my God, the French, the French audience,
and all the whole crew over there. And there, Damian, you and I, we went out there and we saw those guys in Germany.
We went to Germany. Yeah, we went to, what was that called?
It was with Dirk and what was the name of that convention? It's the biggest convention I think out there.
Yeah,
it was in Bonn. Man, that was so much fun.
Oh, we had a blast. We had so much fun. I remember, but just to piggyback on your mentioning of all the fans around the world and bring it so much closer to home, guys, his mother was a huge fan.
Rosie.
Curtis's mom.
Love Rosie.
Curtis's mom. She shows
Rosie.
up. She showed up and she was like, oh my God, that was on episode this. That was on episode that. So seeing Curtis's mom, just her eyes widen and just fangirl over everything that was there. I love seeing it. I know how proud Curtis was of her.
I just talked to her this morning, and she still says to this day that was the most wonderful experience she's ever had in her life. She says she's like, I got every single fan beat because no other fan could have done what I did. I'm the best, and she loves her Samantha Carter BDUs, her Samantha Carter tags. She has that stuff displayed in the house, and she is a super duper fan. Duper fan.
David expects photos of those now.
All right.
I've just actually displayed a photo of Rosie just a moment ago, holding one of the chevron crystals. But
and she has like Daniel's book.
Oh, she got that. Okay.
She has that. She has some really cool stuff. Some stuff that not Val, but Mark gave her some crystals.
Oh, Mark Davidson, set decorator.
And
he handed her a few pieces.
They walked around. They had a good time together, and Mark gave her some stuff, and it was pretty cool.
That was the extraordinary thing about being up there, not just pulling the sets apart and archiving stuff, putting things in boxes, but getting to spend time with Mark and Robert Davidson and his team and Val Halverson and all of these people who made the process what it was over the years, to have them kind of close the book on it with us, go out to dinner every night, share stories. That was a great experience. It was one of the
John
most...
Lennock? Don't
God, John, I'm so sorry.
John was just absolutely fantastic.
He's brilliant.
Without him, couldn't have done anything. He was great.
No.
But the whole crew of Stargate, one big family. And I think the fans feel like it's one big family as well. But it's definitely like that with the crew, and we're up there, everybody, one big family. It was great.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm friends with some of the extras who were on the show. And they still to this day they say it was one of the best experiences that they had.
Across the board. I routinely hear that doing Dial the Gate. Lee, what was some of the more difficult pieces to photograph? I haven't been able to show all of them with you guys here, but I'm going through a reel for everyone to see.
I'm a commercial photographer. It was pretty easy, we just do those things. But I'll talk about monotonous things. Was like chair backs.
Yes,
there must have been 500,000 chair backs that would just get mind numbing. But we wanted them, and even if we weren't going to keep them, we wanted a picture of them. Even some things that we knew weren't going to make the auction, we still wanted to have an archive.
We were archiving this thing for the future because we all had aspirations of, okay, well, once this is done, we're going to go off with this and get a license from MGM to do this. And we had plans for a couple of things. Like we wanted to pursue the art book idea with James Robbins and release some of this stuff, but it just didn't happen. So at the very least, we managed to get a lot of it photographed and archived before it all, went to the four corners of the earth. So
right. And I'll share a little story too about Battlestar. When the very first little packet of money that we sold on an eBay auction, it went for some astronomical number. And I think I remember I remember that Curtis and I looking, and we had an entire trash can full of it. And we were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was a 60-gallon trash can full of money. And we're like, the first one sold for like $500 for nothing, for a tight little bit. And I was all, oh boy. And then you almost feel bad because you're like, we're going to inundate that market, and these things are going to sell for 38 cents
we haven't
a piece by the time we get done.
Exactly. Saturated in the market. The same thing happened
and we didn't tell people that we had just buckets of these.
That's it.
No one... if someone would have walked into that, I don't remember, Curtis, was it an 80,000 square foot warehouse? How big was that warehouse?
Oh,
I
at
think it
the
was,
airport? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was 40. I don't think it
we
was
had
80.
two
Was
of
it
them.
80?
I'm pretty sure that the big one was 100,000, wasn't it?
I
Or
thought
was
so
it only
too. I remember
80,000?
100,000 number.
I
But,
think you're yeah,
but
yeah,
it
I
was
think you're
but it
absolutely
was
right, 'cause it was the whole thing.
125 feet of
It was ridiculously
costumes,
enormous.
2 high, 4 wide.
Yeah.
You know, that you built out of those aluminum knuckles and things like that.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
then-
I
That's
remember
right.
building that. I remember building those racks. And I remember we drilled those in there and yeah, too high.
With
Too
bread.
wide.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it was like
4
almost 200
and went
feet,
for days.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it was two. Yeah, so that place was gigantic. That was so much clothes. And you guys were wondering, like, hey, what props did you ever take home? Well, I actually had a whole living room set from Stargate of all the couches and chairs.
We couldn't move them.
They were just, no one cared. They were just going in the trash.
So,
and all they were was regular IKEA chairs with these stretchy things over them, and they would change the stretchy things over them for different colors.
Yeah.
So they weren't special, except I had them for years in my studio.
I need to clarify.
That's what people sat on.
Because people are like, well, why did you get into the... So we knew at a certain point when we were collecting a lot of this stuff up in Vancouver, what would sell and what wouldn't. Because you have to understand, for everyone who's listening, who's like, why did you just lift those? The manufactured furniture, especially, much of this was for Atlantis because SGC didn't really have anything that you had to manufacture. You could sell like a piece for like maybe $200, maybe $150, but creating it and freighting it and to send it to someone would have been, for like one normal like piece, would have been like $1,200, wouldn't it have been, Curtis?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you remember the big captain's chairs, but like $300, $400 for to crate it up and ship it at the minimum. But
so what we had to do
that when it's just a non-recognizable item, you know.
That's right. So the only reason that we brought it, a lot of those cream pieces, light gray, was for padding inside of the truck. So that was a lot of it too. We brought a lot of those back with us so that we could protect some of the larger pieces. And also we had furniture while we were in the warehouse working. We were all sitting in the furniture that was used on the sets. So it wasn't,
the studio would
it would have made no money selling it.
The studio
Right.
the studio told us no too. They're like, no, we don't want those things on the auction. We get rid of them, donate them, do something with them. I mean, we don't want them. And they gave us a list of stuff to dump. You know, they're like, here, this is our this is what we're gonna do. And we really did have to work within the confines of what the studio wanted, because all said and done, they were writing a pretty fat check. So
That's right.
It was the same thing with the background actors' costumes. Like we took a lot, we sold a lot of we sold all the hero stuff, but like the things that were, peasants in the background or stuff that no one ever would have wanted, they were like, don't bother, because you're going to get nothing for it.
I've just shown Shepard's wristband. Sorry to interrupt you, Damian, on the screen here. You remember this? So our first week, we had a listing for, there was we had 50 pieces a week, and or 75 if I can't remember. And the first one that went up, he had these Nike wristbands that were always inverted, so you didn't see the swish. And the first one went up. And the policy was to not say that this is one of however many.
Many.
The universe, whoever sold Universe, they had that policy where they said in the listing, this is one of X, Y, or Z, or this is one of many. We did not have that. And do you guys recall? I remember the number. Do you guys recall approximately?
Was it like 1,000,
how much?
1,100 or something? 1,000, 1,100, 2,000.
Yeah.
$2,000.
The things people paid for certain costume items.
I felt so bad for this person because
was just incredible.
Week 55, we're still selling them, but they're going at that point for $40. It's like there was only so much that you could do, and just watching things churn.
Yeah, I remember you coming into the office one day and you were like, I feel so bad. I just got off the phone with somebody who's so pissed that they spent an insane amount of money on those wristbands when we were in week 8 or 9 and they the price just dropped.
Oh, did I speak to someone over the phone?
I
I remember that too. Yeah.
Wow, I
Kind of
forgot.
You like we were handing you like antacids because you were so broken up about it. Like it was. And again, I'll even say it to everybody, like to credit all of us. We really cared about what we were selling, and we really cared about the fans, and we felt
it was meticulous.
Yeah,
Right.
so like
I think at that time though, Damian, I think that's when we actually, because that's 8 weeks into it, right? 8 or 9 weeks into it out of like 52 weeks, right? So we were learning it, and I think that's when we kind of learned that, hey, we really need to like see what we put out in the market, and maybe we don't flood it, and then we start to like really, tighten the ship up on what we put out, because of that.
There were certain things that you just couldn't move on a regular basis, where we actually created, I don't know it was probably your genius, Curtis, to create a storefront. So for a lot of the repetitive pieces, like the original puddle jumper, DHD dashboard buttons from season 1, we just put them up in individual lots and like sold them for a flat rate. The storefront was doing really good for a while there.
For like anything under $100, throw it up on the storefront, because it doesn't take any effort. You just put it up there, and like how many signed presidential documents did we sign by the?
Oh my God! And mission documents from SGC. It just kept on going and going. It was just wild. So
but hey,
there's only so much you can move so fast. Cool. That's right.
Yeah. God, it was.
Where's the option now?
Looks like we're about 10 behind. It looks like there's 10 more things before the gate comes up.
I'm really excited about it. I'm interested to see what it's going to go for. Let me have a look here and see where we're at. So it's still at 52,500.
Yeah, that's what I saw that.
So the let me bring this up here. This is the Stargate Live Auction 1 catalog. And I checked online, and they are still being sold. I have a link in the description below for, I think the auction 2 catalogs are gone. But our boss still has a number of these available, and the link is in the description below for his website. But this is the listing for the Stargate that's going to be available here in a minute. Excuse me. And it was lot number 51. We put an estimated sell price of between 80 and 100,000 on these. I'm pretty sure, Curtis, that was a lot of that was my responsibility to say how much I thought that this would go for.
Yeah, it was.
And you guys would just back me.
I'm gonna go back. I think I have that my catalog from the auction. I think I have handwritten notes.
Yeah.
In it.
Yeah.
So
you wrote it.
Let me go look real quick. Coming back.
Okay. Grab it. Yeah. But
and so much care went into those that you were making with Damaris.
Damaris was brilliant. My gosh. Yeah. Before we had Zoom, I think it was just Skype that we were using, and we built these catalogs from the ground up. The amount of time that we spent, the production photography that's in these, all of your work, Lee, is just. It's just beautiful. The book is the quality of a textbook.
Yeah,
and it's a great piece to own.
To this day, I still don't think Lee gets the credit that he rightfully deserves for all the work. Those. Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I learned so much from him. Like he would take a picture of something, then take another photo of it, and then another photo, and then merge those 3 to 4 together, so everything was in focus. So everything was so beautiful, so crisp. And
I'll show you again one of those details. Oh, go ahead and finish your thought, and then I'll come back to that specific point.
That's it. No, specifically, Lee, I still hands down applaud you for all the work that you did on these.
So
those helmets, I was looking, they're amazing.
This edge here, that's on these. There was an officially licensed Stargate mirror that came out. And I think we got either already had one or we got our hands on one. And Lee, you took it under like a microscope or something and photographed and then adjusted and photographed and adjusted and photographed so that you could line up all of the sections of that mirror when it was centered directly under the target of your camera.
Yeah.
And then you used a composite to put them all together so that we could have the high resolution that we needed for these. And I just thought, that is just nuts. That is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a cool idea.
Yeah. And with that, I know Curtis has the book he wants to share. My battery's about to die and I have to go.
Oh, no!
Damian!
So I apologize, but I have a place I have to be, and I gotta take care of my dog. And
love you, brother.
I love you guys.
Love you, brother.
Yo, love you.
Yeah, we're gonna do this off air, and we're gonna reminisce some more for sure.
Yeah.
But Lee, it was an honor seeing you again, Curtis. I love you to pieces, man.
Yep.
And David, thank you for doing this. The fans
Love you,
don't
brother.
understand. They don't understand how much. Yeah.
Hey, did anybody reach out to Steve?
Steve Frosnick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, did Steve even work on Stargate?
I don't
Hey,
know who that is.
So, but
no, just
okay.
Dean was with us, but Dean's busy and Jared are busy too. The three men who are on the screen with me are I consider family, my brothers. I can count on any of you for anything, and I have never taken that for granted. I am so thankful that you guys are in my life, and to this day, I love you, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, PTSD and all.
Hey, we were in the trenches, you know.
Curtis knows, and you guys can talk about it after I leave. But like, when I said we had a problem, it was like we would all just let out and just have our conversations, and
that's it.
You know, it was. You know, it's funny. I'm actually looking around my room, and I still have like some of the plastic tubs that the props came in that I still
me
use.
too. Oh, absolutely, I do.
Yo,
all my stuff is in those plastic tubs.
Yeah, look,
my whole warehouse.
Look at this.
Exactly, right there. You know, there was just some stuff.
Everything in my warehouse is in those plastic tubs. I even have rolling racks from Battlestar. That I still have stuff on.
Absolutely. So with that, guys, I love you all. Fans at home, you have no idea how much work that David put into this, and thank you all for doing what you did. And like you said, we're family now, and this is never going to change. So David, whatever you need, Curtis, Lee, I'm here for you. I love you guys.
Thanks for showing up, Damian.
Anytime. I'll do this anytime with you guys.
We'll have more. All righty. That was wild. Where are we at now? With this thing, let me see here.
We're 5 away.
5 away. Oh my goodness. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I found those catalogs, but my Stargate catalogs, they don't have writing. It's in my Kevin Smith and my Battlestar, my Star Trek. I have all the catalogs sitting right here. It's like, can't believe I saved all these. Of course I did.
No, there's some. I have a set somewhere where I wrote all the final realized prices down, and I've got them listed. They're actually on Live Auctioneers, and like a lot of my PDF files. Whoa, you go take care of that. Like, I mean, look at that. Yeah. Look at that. Look at that.
I know,
the 0-point modules is just gorgeous. A lot of my Excel files that had a lot of those realized numbers are corrupted. They won't open anymore, and it's such a shame. You know?
I did have a spreadsheet of every item sold, price, who it sold to. That stuff's got lost, unfortunately. You know, we used to, Battlestar, those archives. I know they're stored really good, but we didn't do that so much. I don't know with Stargate as much. Like off-site, totally separate from everything, so that they're always preserved. But the amount of photos I've lost, videos of being like the greatest time was being on set, going out there and breaking the set down, and just walking through with the crew, just walking through, and we'd be like, "Yeah, we want this. We'll take that." Well, we X'd everything, put tape on everything that we're taking, but the story behind every single prop was awesome to see.
We're 4 lots away. I want to share a couple of details with you guys really quick here before it gets too close here. I was interested on looking up some points of comparison here. The Stargate itself, the current bid for that is $52,500. I think it opened up at $40,000. The most expensive item is later on in this auction. It is the Empire Strikes Back Mark Hamill screen used lightsaber and hand that got chopped off. The current bid for it is $1 million.
Wow.
There is a golden ticket from there is, but that's not the one I'm talking about here. Willy Wonka's hat, Gene Wilder's hat from the original 1971 film. The current bid for that is $260,000. What I think is really interesting, guys, is this. If you scroll down I'm just hoping it doesn't disappear. That's why I'm talking about it now. If you scroll down, let's do Willy Wonka here real quick. You can see lot tracking and page views. How many times people have opened up this page. For the hat, for Gene Wilder's hat, the page has been viewed 3,300 times. For Luke's lightsaber and hand, broken off hand, with $1 million as the current bid, that page has been viewed 19,000 times. For the SG-1 Stargate, do anyone want to take a guess how many times that page has been viewed?
30.
39,766 times. It's exceeded the number of views that Luke's lightsaber and chopped off hands have had, the number of clicks, by 20,000.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. That is a signature Star Wars item. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not Luke's hero lightsaber, which I'm probably sure would be getting considered. But that, and an item going for $1 million right now is 20,000 views behind this Stargate. So I'm very interested to see what's about to happen in just a few minutes here.
Well, that just says something about the fan base. Look at the fan base.
That's right.
I mean, it just says something about the fan base and how broad, even though, Star Wars has been around for 50 years, Stargate's been around for 30 years, whatever. But it's amazing, the fan base. Like, wow.
That's it. We're at 89,488 right now. This is about to close, so I think we're going to go ahead and tune in here. I'm going to Curtis. Do you want me to share the audio so that you can hear it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Oh no, I can listen to it. Actually, yeah, sure. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
All right.
1600. Anyone else? You look great around the pool with this summer, right there. There it is. You get the top, the bottom, and the cover up. I'm at 15 now, 16, 15, yes. 15 it is. 15 it stays. Who got it? Heritage Live. One of the funniest shows I remember, played one of these. This is from Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie. But remember Mystery Science Theater when they would review the movies? You guys remember that?
They're selling a gumball machine right now for $8,000, guys.
Anyway, just one of the funniest groups of guys here. But anyway, Mystery Science Theater 3000, Kevin Murphy. This is Tom Servo Puppet. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, lot 489. I absolutely, totally dig this. What do we have on it, Emily? 75, now 8,000, now 8,000 on the Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie. I'm at 75, now 8,000. Now to bid $8,000.
Not even the original.
Now to go to 8,000.
Mystery Science 2000 that came out years before.
75, it is bid 8.
2,000?
7,500 now to go to $8,000. Who's there at 8?
Yeah, there's
Heritage Live, what do you say? 8,000.
Yeah,
I'm at
there was
7,500 now to go to $8,000. Heritage Live, give me a little bit more. I'm at 7,500, go 8,000. 8,000, thank you. Now to go to 85. Now to bid 8,500. I'm at 8,000, now 85. 8,000, go to $8,500. Fair warning at 8. Now to go to 85. Now to bid $8,500. I'm offing running on this one. This is a great one. This is one of the great ones here.
Here we go, guys.
I'm at 8,000, now 85. 8,000 now to go to 8,500. 8,000 is now to bid $8,500. Kind of a spoof science fiction, if you will. I'm at 8 now, 85. 8,250 also works. 8,250 works. I'm at 8,000 now to go to 82.5. $8,000 bill. Anybody now at 8,250? 8,000. Anyone else? Fair warning at 8,000, a little bit more. Then we'll do it at $8,000, and it goes to Heritage Live. Fantastic. This is amazing. Absolutely incredible. This is a 10-year show. 10 years Stargate was on. This is a great one. This is a time travel. This is it. You can time travel. This is the arrival. This is kind of the arrival station, if you will. How's that? This is a full-scale screen-used travel Stargate. The gateway. Okay, as you transfer yourself for different dimensions, different time periods. This is it. Impressive example, stands 24 feet high, measures 22 feet in diameter. There's a great photo of it. You walk up the stairs and bam, you're somewhere else. Pretty cool on this one. This is one of the great ones. The provenance is the Propworx Stargate Artifacts official auction in 2010. It's absolutely incredible. We love this item in the sale. And again, this can confidentially be identified as the only traveling Stargate used by production across all of the franchise spin-offs through Stargate universe.
That's
How about
not
that?
true.
Ladies and gentlemen, you want to do time travel? Let's do it. I'm at lot 490.
Dude.
What are we going to do for Stargate? 52,500. 60,000. Now it's prior 60. That's a tie. We got to break it. Now to go to 65,000.
70,000. The last time it was
65
sold.
now 70,000. I'm at 65 now 70,000. 65 now to go to 70. What do you think at 70,000? We gave this a full page, a full layout on this one. It's a big one. 65 now 70 grand. Now to go to 70,000. I'm at 65 now 70. What do you think at 70,000?
Seriously?
Heritage Live. What do you think at 65? Now to bid 70 grand. Go 70. 65 it is. Now to bid $70,000. Heritage Live. What say you beyond that? I'm at 65 now 70.
Gotta go 70.
$1,000 for the Stargate.
Come on.
Again, show ran for 10 years. Can you imagine? Now that really is an eternity in TV world. I'm at 65,000. I've been 70. 65,000 now $70,000. Heritage Live. What say you? What say you? 67.5. That would be the cut bid. That's a viable bid. Get that in there. That's $2,500. Don't not use it. If you haven't used it, I don't see a lot of cut bids up there. Let's get the cut bid at 67.5. If you're on the losing end at 65,000, get that cut bid in play at 67.5. What do you think now? Heritage Live, you thinking about it at 67.5? You got to bid it now. Don't let the weekend come around and go, oh, why didn't I do that? Don't do that. We get calls about that. Is that still available? No. 70,000. Now 75. Woo! Now to go to 75,000. I'm at 70 now to go to 75.
There you go.
70,000 now, 75,000. That's what happens at an auction. The fireworks begin. 75 now to go to 80,000. I'm at 75 now to go to 80.
Good.
What do you say to 80,000?
I wanted it to exceed what it originally sold
people
for.
Thinking, I've got a place for this.
And then 25% buyer's premium on top of this.
75
so
now, 80,000.
whoever owns it at this point will have to pay $100,000 to get
Heritage
it.
Live, one more bid, maybe. 77.5. Still haven't seen the cut bid. Still haven't seen them. I'm at 75,000 now to go to 77.5. What do you think? Waiting it out? Heritage Live. Anybody else? Fair warning then at 75,000 for the 10-year show Stargate. Anybody else? 75,000. Anyone else? All bids in. Any other bids? All calls to action now. 75,000 is it, and it does sell at $75,000, and that is Heritage Live. The all-in price for that $93,750.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Wow, guys.
Well, at least it holds
Wowie.
its value. You know, some props, they don't hold, but for this being so big, so old. I mean, wow.
Yeah. So 70,000 in US in 2010 is what in $26. So that would be 107,580. So it's technically lost compared to last time. But I'm if anyone whom I know actually won it, please get in touch with me here. Let me see here. No one yet. I just got a message from someone in the Stargate family. I'm like, did they get it? So if there's anyone in there who got it,
there's a couple of fans I would think. Jim Hume. I haven't heard from Jim Hume for a while. He bought big stuff. And also Clay Brown out of Texas. He liked the big stuff too.
the winner is actually in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah. TRSOHMER. TR Somers, I'm guessing. It was quoted $17,000 in shipping. TR Somers, where are you in the world? What state are you in? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'd like to know that too, because that seems
yeah, very cool. I would once it's up, I would love to go and have a look at it. Yeah, right, exactly. It's gonna be in Las Vegas. It's gonna be in Vegas. All right.
Oh.
So
and the gate is in where? It's in Dallas, right? That's where Heritage is at.
Is that right? Okay.
I think they're in Dallas.
$17,000 to go from Texas to well, maybe.
I don't know. Not seeing it. Not seeing it.
Because it was. I mean, it took up what, a quarter of one of our 18-wheelers.
Yeah, but that's not going to cost 17 grand though.
It's not going to cost that. No. That's what you. For the record, everyone, Curtis worked at UPS for years. So, I mean, it was.
I shipped everything from the big board, the navigation plotting board. That thing was massive to the
my
maps.
gosh.
Shipping the maps to
the star map and the maps and everything else.
Yeah, I mean all that stuff. And so yeah. But
they said TR Summer says they said they needed a 53-foot truck. TR Summer says, I'm going to get alternate shipping, smiley face. Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah,
because that's ridiculous. Don't.
Better.
What do you think they should push for?
The gate,
the dimensions, the rates.
Yeah, the gate isn't 53 inches long. Okay, so you don't need a 53 inch.
It comes apart.
It comes apart. You can listen. It's not hard.
53 feet, right?
You can probably go get a 24-foot box truck, take it apart, and fit it in there if you're good at packing it. If you're good at what you're doing.
I imagine it's already been taken apart again. But they just put it together to photograph it.
Just you look for a better deal. You might, actually you make sure you don't know who they're using to package their stuff. Maybe it's the best of the best. You can't. So I can't say it. 17,000. Maybe that is a good deal for but I don't know. Seems high to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's nothing wrong with getting estimates for sure. So the Pedestal was the Langaran platform from Seizure. So the story behind this, the first live auction was held in Seattle at the Sci-Fi Museum that Paul, what's his last name, owned?
Paul Allen,
the original owner of this Stargate. And so he was a private bidder. He was a bidder on that. So our plan was to have Mark Davidson and his team come down, or someone from that team come down to Seattle, meet us with the Stargate. We were going to bring it up from Orange County, California, to this event and have it as the centerpiece in the museum for this live auction. It's going to be perfect. A couple months before, Mark calls me. They want the gate for Seizure for SGU for that episode. And it was like, yeah, and when is that going to be? There's like, the week that you're up there doing the live auction is the week that SGU is returning to the Milky Way galaxy to Langara. And I was like, seriously? What are the odds? I'm remembering this as you're telling the story. And it was like, what? Yeah. Give me a break. But, at the same time, we didn't have to worry about shipping it. They went ahead and just drove it back down.
Yeah, they handled everything.
They
were great.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah. So it was, and they got a pedestal out of it.
And we got the base out of it. Yeah, we got the pedestal
out
of
it.
Which
I didn't have to put it back in storage because it didn't go. And apparently a lot of the planes from Battlestar didn't list, didn't sell. But that's just. It's going to be always like one of my little disappointments, but I really hope that this guy reaches out to me through my my email, because once it's up and installed, I will definitely do an episode out there in
That'd
Vegas
be pretty cool.
covering it.
They have anything else? Any other items? Any big items? Because it's a big item worth this going with some other stuff.
Anyone in the chat? Do any of you folks have any items from Stargate?
So, like maybe some Atlantis. Remember the console pieces from Atlantis? Or the Daedalus consoles?
Oh man, the Earth spaceship sets and all the ancient sets. Lee, I mean, the stuff that we had to plug in and photograph in different lighting conditions was just absolutely excessive. And you had a whole process for going through that, didn't you?
Absolutely. Well, everything. Yeah. See, look how clean those backgrounds are. That's the trick on that. Is we were going to straight white backgrounds and uploading. One of the things that is, I like just like things that were in the way that wouldn't be in the way today is we would dial in with our internet about, 3 times a day for about 10 minutes. And that's all we had when we were working on this stuff. And then we were uploading to Damaris with a cell phone connection because that warehouse didn't have any kind of internet. That's right. The little hindrances,
I remember
a little airport.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember asking you. I was like, "Where are you? Where are you putting this stuff?" And you said, "I'm putting it up in the cloud." And I remember saying, "Lee, what's the cloud?" Because this was 2010, and it was like, so you had to educate me on what that was. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I was because there was no possible way to build a catalog once we were done photographing it. At the end of every day, I uploaded everything with the numbers, whichever number they were going to be fit into the catalog, which you already had figured out ahead of time, and which is in a spreadsheet. And Damaris was laying out the catalog pages the next day of the things we shot the day before.
Man.
And then she would send me little screen grabs of like, hey, how do you think this looks? And I'm like, ooh, the one in the, the third from the right is actually 3 times bigger than that. It's not the same height as the rest, or something like that. And
That's
we
right.
do that kind of stuff all the time, kind of scaling them out. Yeah, just these little details. Yep.
The process you guys had, Lee, David, Damian, I mean, writing the descriptions, Damaris, putting the catalogs together. I mean,
It was an assembly line.
What a daily, it was assembly line. And it ran good. It ran good. It was efficient. I mean, the amount of stuff we put through with just a
Look
small
at the
group
color.
that we had.
That color is great. I mean, I forget about all this stuff. Wow, we even lit them up. We did whatever we could.
Yeah, Dean
Beautiful.
and we had a couple of people who were familiar with electronics, and so we were able to open up a number of these pieces and reactivate a lot of them. And in one specific situation with the X699, the big effing gun that was introduced in Bounty and then reused in Stargate Continuum at the beginning, it actually had underneath the heatsink a removable panel with crystals and a whole lit section in there that was never shown on screen. We got this thing down in Orange County. We're going through it, and we're trying to figure out what's rattling in the middle of it. Something is clearly broken, and we couldn't figure out what it was. So we sat it down on its side, and Dean actually lifted the side of it that was designed to look like a heatsink because everything's fake. And lo and behold, on the inside of it, there were these stray, human created crystals that were reverse engineered from Gould or ancient technology or whatever inside this big crystal gun. And it was never, and a lit compartment behind it where you could slide the crystals in and they would glow. And it was never used on screen. It just was not something that was ever seen.
Remember, we had the hardest time trying to figure that gun out, like for a long time.
Yeah, well, they had radio-controlled switches that went with it, so it would power up, you'd power down. You could change the intensity of it, and it had the short circuit just like it does in the show. It was magnificent stuff. They had one guy, I'm pretty sure that they went to for all of this electronics work in terms of the radio controls and everything else, and it was just his work was just so good. But yeah. Guys, this has been terrific to have you. Anything else before we wrap up?
It's a great prop.
Just been a pleasure, David. This is always great to get back together with everybody. And Lee, fantastic to see you, brother. I mean,
it's good to see you, Curtis.
It's really good to see you, man. Great. All right.
Guys, this has been a treat. I apologize that the documentary has taken as long as it has to come available. Still working on that. Lockwatcher says, wonder what the cost to ship the Stargate would be. Well, we were already talking about that on air. So we don't think it would go for 17,000 US. We think he could probably get it for cheaper than that. But yeah.
I don't know. You can, someone want to reach out to me somewhere. And
well, if they reach out to me,
reach out to David, and then maybe I can, maybe I'll
Curtis, you
find something out real quick and do something. See what I can.
That's right.
Give
You can hook people
a direction to go.
Exactly.
So,
I have my commercial truck driver's license. Curtis, you rent the truck. We'll both fly to Texas. We'll drive it to Vegas and come home. We'll do it for $16,500.
I need to get out to the West Coast anyways. It's only a 12-hour drive to Dallas for me.
No, we'll do it. Yeah.
There, and then
I'll do it for 15,000. Do I hear 14,500?
14,500. I don't know. We got it. Gas is expensive, but and the truck is a little bit pricey.
It'd be a great way to end the Stargate mission.
Oh, it would be great addition to the video or to the documentary as well.
Oh, you know what? That would be a great way to finish for us all to meet in Vegas underneath the Stargate.
Hey, that'd be
awesome. Talk about that.
Yeah, I live only 170 miles from Vegas. It's close to me.
That's not bad.
I'm there.
I'm not crazy about Vegas. I just went out there a couple of weeks ago, and it had been about 10 years, and it's like, you know what? Okay,
It's
guys,
okay
thank
to
you.
visit for a day.
Yeah.
All right, David.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you.
You guys have
Love
a
you, Lee.
wonderful. Love you guys. Bye.
Take care of yourselves. All right, that was my old boss, Curtis Short, and my partner in crime, Lee Webb of Propworx, the photographer. My name is David Reed. You're watching the Stargate Oral History Project. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, do me a favor and click that like button. It does make the show go further. It makes the show go further. I can't believe I just said that. But if you really enjoyed something about the show, leave a comment below in the description, because that actually does make more of a difference in terms of our reach. Share a thought. And I cannot thank enough my Patreon supporters who are continuing to support me, even though we've no longer got a new show coming. We've all been gutted because of that, but we're all, still in this together. And sooner or later, we're going to have another Stargate show, another Stargate property, another product. It's just going to be a little while before we get it. So we're all going to be here together through this. This was an awesome episode. I have been so excited about this Propworx documentary that I've been working on. The problem with it is that I've got about 7 or 8 hours of content recorded with about 400 stories. And I mean, I have to Ken Burns myself, put myself into a hole and just sit down and with Excels and build all of it together, because, not everyone could have had the same opportunity to meet for a conversation. So a lot of it's in pieces. And so the same story is told again and again. I've said 2026. I'm hoping it's going to be 2026, but I just don't know. And it's one of those things that I want to be right. So it's going to take at least a month of 12 to 16, 18-hour days just pulling this thing off. But it's on my to-do list. And the fact of the matter is that my Patreon people are helping me to pull it off. So thank you guys so much for that. We have another show coming up here in 90 minutes. Ben Robinson of Master Replicas is going to be joining us for your exclusive first look at what one of the physical models of the Master Replicas Serpent Guard helmet looks like. He's going to show us the prototype. So stick around for that. Anthony, Raj, Lockwatcher, thank you guys for helping out with our moderating. I don't know why words fail me at the end of the show, but they always seem to. My moderating team, I cannot do this without them, and it means the world to me to have them. Anthony, Kevin, Lockwatcher, Marsha, Raj, Jacob, Enigma, Stephen, and Lord Thoth has just joined us as well. Thanks to our team over at Venture Pictures did a lot of the opening and closing credits, especially for this episode. Matt Eagle, S.G. Wilson, Frederick Marcoux at Concepts Web, who keeps dialthegate.com up and running. My dear friend, Jacob Oleash, who is my lead archivist and producer, who is responsible for putting all of these and filing them away, these episodes. I am tremendously blessed. We just don't have a new Stargate show, but we're going to stick around. And you'll find me here in 90 minutes. Hope you can join us. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. I appreciate you tuning in. And I'll see you on the other side.